You wish, okay.
Is that 2 pages?
Nope.
Oh. Yeah, you got 2 of them.
That's yours. Any discussion?
I think you ought to have Pat explain his document.
Okay.
And have Jackie explain hers.
Okay,
On the resolution, findings A and B are identical to the findings on the last resolution you did to opt out of the governor's order. C, I added, which basically states the obvious, I guess, but, opting out of the governor's statewide executive order gives the Osage County the flexibility going forward to make recommendations or mandates if necessary to best protect the health and safety of Osage County. So, in theory, I mean, next week, you could have any type of mandate, your mask or otherwise you wanted to.
right,
If conditions warrant.
right.
So at least it gives you that flexibility that you can change with the changing circumstances.
Okay,
Jackie, you wanna talk about yours? Protocol?
So, this is what Tim came up with. We had our old one, and then, we just kinda added a little bit to it to make it more specific for now. And so, I mean, have you guys kinda had a chance to look at it back there? It's, I don't
It's
have any idea.
07.
It says, we do not mandate the use of masks or facial coverings, but we recognize the significance of utilizing them to mitigate the transmission of COVID-19. Therefore, we don't mandate them, but we strongly recommend them whenever in any public space, indoors or outside when at least 6 feet cannot be maintained. While we recognize the significance of face coverings in mitigating the transmission of COVID-19, we find a mandate inherently unenforceable at the county level. Social distancing guidelines will continue to be strongly encouraged, as well as practicing good personal hygiene and staying home if ill. Whenever feasibly possible, unnecessary gatherings are discouraged. That's just another mitigation procedure. Businesses, schools, and other entities, public or private, may choose to require patrons, customers, employees, or other people to wear face coverings when in attendance. So, and for the purpose of this document, and we described face covering, which is exactly from the governor's, which was very broad. And so basically, we wanted to add that just to be sure that people understood you didn't have to have a store-bought face mask in order for it to qualify. So. And it would become effective tomorrow, this, so it
Right.
would come in effect before the governor's, and that's the requirement unless, because if you don't, then you're automatically opted in.
So, we've got ourselves covered on getting out, and then we're covered with something
Yeah,
before
blue
they
are,
are.
yes.
So,
They
our
work
recommendation covers them before, so we're covered on the government. getting out from under the governor.
How well are people following your quarantine guides when they are?
Pretty good. It's not 100% by any stretch.
Well, I know that. So.
But pretty good.
Okay,
We do have quite a bit of dissension with quarantines. You know, we have people that are angry about, especially the household contacts, because it's a long time. And they think it's a new order and it's not, because it's 24 days, but, I mean, if anybody wants me to explain why, I will, but it's been that way since the beginning.
Is that a KDHE thing, or is that,
That's a CDC.
that comes from, I was curious.
Yeah, the reasoning is because of the way the virus is transmitted. So a person who is positive isolates for 10 days. A person who is quarantined is the last date they were exposed to the positive, they have to quarantine for 14. And so if you add those two together, it's 24. So it sucks. But that's why. It has to do with how long the incubation period is for the virus. So, anyway, that's probably the source of most contention.
right.
But, I mean, it is what it is. So far, the health department staff have just kicked butt in keeping up on this stuff. We have the option to turn stuff over to the state. We do not, because they are totally unreliable,
Yes.
among other things, but we prefer to keep everything within ourselves, because we contact each and every person more than once. We contact the positives several times to be sure they're okay, especially if they want us to, and especially if they're really sick. The quarantines, we notify them, and then if they want us to check on them, we do. And so, you know, when we see the positives, the only way we don't contact them is if they're not in the system, and that does happen. The system is far from perfect, the state system, so there are some problems here and there. And so we don't always get people called as soon as we would like to, simply because we don't know they're there. But, I mean, they work hours over the weekend. So they're, you know, we're all working really hard to keep up with this, and it's not gonna slow down anytime soon, so.
Well, a
But
lot of
we'll
state
keep
and
this-
federal officers are still working from home.
I know. they're all working
And
from
that's, sometimes that's a little questionable about how much work gets done when you're home.
Yeah.
home. Yeah, and we do have that option, that's in our continuity emergency plan,
Right,
continuity of operations, that's why we have the laptops. So if needed,
right.
we can work from home, to some degree, but I'm hoping we don't have
Right.
to do that, but we have the ability at this particular time. The person that we've hired is doing very well. I think she's gonna be a great fit, and she will be getting her LPN, so eventually she will be a nurse.
Mhm.
So I think she was a good choice, we're doing well with her.
Good.
Quick learner, and there's a steep learning curve.
Yes,
You ready for a motion, Mr. Chairman?
yes, I am.
And that's 07, you said?
Yes,
I move we adopt resolution number 2020-07.
We need to mention the protocols.
That'd be another motion.
that'd be a separate motion.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
Okay, then moved and second, we approve resolution 2020-07. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
I also move that we approve of our health officers' new Osage County face covering protocol guidelines.
I'll second that as well.
Then moved and seconded, we approve the face covering protocol. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Okay.
Resolution.
Is this the one you're signing?
The one Gaylor
No,
got on
this
this one. You just want one
There's
signed one and
there's only
Make
one
copies
signature
there's
on that
only
one.
one signature on that
Yeah.
one for us, so. there's
You
that
need to
one
make
for
the
Gaylor.
copies of it.
Better let her make copies
Yes.
here.
All of them.
Okay, and Rhonda needs to sign this one.
And there will be notices in the paper this week.
Where's the second one?
It's correct, this is
I just had Fred
Oh,
sign.
Okay.
the,
Okay.
we just have to have the
Very
chair
good.
of the board
Got it.
to do that one.
ran off.
So Rhonda's signature and then how many copies?
Yeah,
You need to keep copies of both, she needs the
I need
copies
copies
both,
just to have
so.
On file too.
Or just one set of copies?
Make one for the newspaper, yes. And you'll have that posted online as well? Okay.
We will, and we'll have, Rhonda put it on the actual, well, she'll put it on the county webpage and the COVID,
Right.
and then I'll put it on the public health page, and I'm sure it'll be spread freely from there.
Well, I'd like to thank you and your staff and Mr. Walsh for going through this and
Yes, thank you all for your efforts.
smoothing the troubled waters.
Anything else?
I don't have anything.
nor do I.
Don't you
Move
guys,
with-
don't you guys need to keep the originals, and I keep the copies?
Oh, okay.
That's a round of questions on there.
I think you guys keep the
Yeah.
We know
Okay.
where you live.
originals, right?
There you go.
I move we adjourn.
Second that.
Been moved and seconded to adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.